You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
we find something unexpected on the tape in Fab Facts.
You can expect me to talk in the Randomiser.
and it's a family business with Ray Harryhausen's daughter, Vanessa.
Oh, she's lovely. That's all coming up in Pod 257.
You're saying I'm not? On the Gerry Anderson podcast!
She's lovely.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Well, hello there.
Oh, hello over there.
Do you know what I realised recently?
What's that?
Is that every week we start with some silly banter. I was going to say something rude then by mistake.
We do, yes.
Silly banter, and then we say who we are, and we say it's the Gerry Anderson Podcast, and we are not allowing for people who might be listening for the very, very, very first time and may not even know Gerry Anderson. It's possible.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, it's true. Because they might come and listen because, I love Harryhausen's work. It'd be great to hear. But like Peach, lovely Peach, lovely Podsterons, who came to the podcast quite late.
Yes.
And I don't know how familiar Peach was with Dad's work.
Fair enough.
So if you're here not knowing what the hell you're doing here, a bit like Richard and I, then this is the Gerry Anderson Podcast, where we talk about all things Gerry Anderson, shows like Thunderbirds and Stingray and Space 1999 and Captain Scarlet and Terrorhawks and UFO and many others.
I mean, there's a long list,
There's a long list. Sci-fi staples from the UK that have gone international.
Actually, I've got some of those in the stationery drawer if you want some.
To be fired from a Space 1999 sidearm. There's the sort of niche content you can expect from the Gerry Anderson Podcast. So there you go. If you're new here, then now you're slightly the wiser.
Yes.
I'm Jamie Anderson, the son of said Gerry Anderson.
Yes, and I'm Richard James. Space Precinct alumni and podcast co-host.
Absolutely, Space Precinct being another Gerry Anderson production. See how well we're doing. See how welcome we're being to those who may not know these things.
Inclusive.
And we're also exactly. So adding to our inclusivity is Chris Dale. Now, Chris is known as the Randomiser. You think, why is that? But it's because he operates a device called the Randomiser, which randomly chooses an episode from the Gerry Anderson canon each week, and Chris introduces you to it and walks you through the episode with a sort of comforting hand. What?
I've got a Gerry Anderson canon as well, if you want to.
Anyway, by now, if you are a first timer, you should be getting the vibe here. It is.
You're either still with us or you left about 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, in that case, sorry to have lost you there. Anyway, alongside the Randomiser, or in fact before it, because we do obey the laws of time and space here and do things serially rather than in parallel or some weird fourth dimension, there are other things between now and then, and Richard will walk you through them now, explaining why we do each item.
Well, because we've got time to fill, mainly. Got an hour and a half to fill. Come on. No, come on, listener. Take me by the hand. That's it. No, don't be shy. Come on. Now, look, if you just walk over here. Now, look at that. That's Fab Facts. Doesn't that look amazing? That's coming up in a little while. A beautiful edifice. Just come around the corner, though, because I want to just show you this monument of architectural wonder. There we have the Gerry Anderson Newsy News. Because, as we know, there's something new happening in the Gerry Anderson universe, even as we speak.
Correct.
Now, that's it. Now, be careful. Might just step there because that's the, just step over that. No, I don't know what that is. I might have come out of one of Jamie's dogs. But here we have the second part of our interview. This is with, we had a whole host of Harryhausens with us last week.
Well,
I say that. 3 people we had. I think that is a record, isn't it?
Podcast record, yes.
And this will be the second part of that interview featuring Vanessa, daughter of the fantastically famous Ray Harryhausen, who we all know, love, and venerate. And then, what else have I missed out? That's it, Randomiser. But look, you see, Come here, take a look at that beautiful view, and there are all the Podsterons ranged before us in size order. Actually, that's interesting, isn't it? And they have been emailing us at podcast@gerryanderson.com. They've also been tweeting us, hashtagging us Gerry Anderson Podcast, and commenting on our Facebook group as well. And I should be reading all that out a bit later. I think that's everything covered. There you go.
I think it is. There's a lovely image of all Podsterons in size order.
I want to know, Podsterons, send me your heights. What? Just send me your height. Yep. Podcast@gerryanderson.com. I want to find out who is the tallest among you and who is the shortest of you. So I don't want if you're sort of middling height. I don't want to. But if you think you might be the tallest, you think you might be the shortest, send it in.
Can we just clarify metric or imperial? Because otherwise we're going to be converting.
It's got to be imperial, surely.
Imperial. So we want feet.
For my sake.
And
yes,
inches,
feet and inches.
please.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. Right. And don't bother with those little creepy half an inches.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But I want to know if you're 6'5", 6'6", or if you're 5'1". Send it in. If you're kind of 5'8", 5'10", I'm not interested.
You know what I was saying about trying to keep hold of new listeners?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I've blown it, haven't I?
I think we may have blown it. Anyway, let's see if we can try and rein things back.
All right.
Maybe.
Yes.
With this week's Fab Facts.
Good luck with that.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Yes, indeed. It's always nice to start off with a sort of amuse-bouche, I suppose, of a fab fact. I think I may have referenced it as that before. Yes, just to sort of whet your appetite, get you going, get you into the worlds of Anderson. Maybe something you didn't know. Yeah. Maybe something you did if you're a real Anderphile. But let's see.
I've got one of those actually on the
for doing your nails.
That's right.
Oh dear, I can't cope with these.
No,
I'm sure you'll find many more of them. Fab Facts. I've got a book of Fab Facts. And actually, this week I've got a supplementary book of Fab Facts. It's slightly smaller, and it only runs from 1989 to 2005.
Wow.
So I know it's a really interesting sub-volume, actually, quite interesting, and has been chewed by the dog, so the corner at the front page is missing. But anyway, I've got this tiny supplementary book of Fab Facts. We'll go back to the normal one next week. And I'm going to flick through it. At a random point, Richard will shout, Fab! That will stop me flicking, and hopefully we will happen upon a Fab fact from the range of 1989 to 2005. So, Richard, are you ready?
Born ready.
Then here comes the flicking.
Fab!
Nice and middling.
Thank you.
So, this week's flicking in the supplementary book of Fab Facts has landed us very specifically in the month of January in the year of 1993.
Oh, really?
So picture this. Perhaps you, Richard James, or perhaps you, Podsteron, have been collecting ITC's home videos of Space 1999 for quite some time now. You are really hoping to amass a complete VHS collection of said series. So you pop down to your local WH Smith, sorry, this is very UK specific for non-UK listeners, to pick up the exclusive new release, Space 1999 Volume 9, also known very catchily as ITC 8157.
All right.
Now, holding this in your hand, you see it's glorious. It includes the episode's missing link and Another Time, Another Place, but wait!
What?
What's this on the cover?
What is it?
Well, it turns out that this tape also includes an episode of something called Supercar.
Ooh.
Now, assume for the moment that you're just a fan of Space 1999 and not really a fan of the puppet shows. I'm not interested in Supercar, I hear you cry indignantly. Or perhaps, once you calm down, you might say something like, well, it seems like this supercar was made by the same bloke who made Space 1999, so I suppose I could give it a watch.
Uh-huh.
So, you sit down, pop the tape in, enjoy your 2 episodes of Space 1999, and then Supercar comes on. But the episode is one called Flight of Fancy, and it doesn't strike you as a particularly marvellous way to start your viewing experience of this series. There's a dream sequence. It appears to be a kind of random episode from the middle of the show, basically.
Right.
So, you call your mate Bob, assuming you've got a mate Bob, from down the pub, assuming you go to the pub, who just happens to be a massive fan of Supercar.
He sounds like he would be.
Absolutely, good old Bob. And he confirms that Flight of Fancy isn't exactly what you might call a top 10 episode. So, I hear you now questioning and asking yourself, why on earth would ITC place a random Supercar episode on a Space 1999 tape? What is going on?
What is going on?
What is happening? Well, the answer, as some of you may already know, is that ITC had plans to release the complete series of Supercar on VHS tape by itself and had already released 3 whole volumes. But sadly, the sales numbers were lower than predicted, so rather than finish out the run, ITC execs opted to experiment with releasing Supercar as a, what you might call, bonus feature on the Space 1999 tapes. However, when this tactic failed to boost sales of Space 1999 tapes, ITC tried other strategies like compilation tapes, such as A Night in TV Heaven, that contained samples of episodes from various series before eventually releasing more standalone Supercar volumes.
Yeah.
Thankfully, though, DVD would soon come along and make almost every Gerry Anderson series available in the complete format, so all was not lost and the Supercar disaster didn't end up mattering that much. So, what do you think of releasing Supercar as a bonus feature on the Space 1999 tapes? Was it a good idea? Was it foolish? Was it just a bit weird? Do email us at podcast@gerryanderson.com if you were the owner of ITC 8157, and if indeed you did think, what on earth is this strange puppet show?
I think it's a bit of a strange thing to do, isn't it? Don't you? I would have been a bit nonplussed by that. I didn't want, I bought a Space 1999 video.
Yes, exactly.
Why, whatever it is, what is this doing on my video?
I know, it's very strange, but it's not like it was replacing an episode of Space 1999. It was just here's another thing you might like. And actually, it very much reminds me of the Gerry Anderson podcast, where you might be most interested in Space 1999 or Thunderbirds, but then you'll hear a fab fact about Supercar. And at the end, in the randomizer, you might sit through an episode of Torchy with Chris.
Okay, yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
No, I see what you mean,
I think the cross-pollination was quite a good idea, but probably not putting a Super Marination episode on a live-action tape.
Yeah.
That feels weird. Like, yes, put on UFO, or put an extended teaser on for Doppelganger or something.
Yes. I think a trailer would have been the way to go. Even the Super Marination stuff I could have handled as a trailer at the end of the 2 episodes.
Yes, well, they did. They did have that really lovely Parker-narrated ITC trailer from the worlds of Gerry Anderson, or whatever Parker said, which they kind of used to cross-promote things. But yeah, odd idea.
Yeah.
Good idea, maybe, but poorly executed, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're back to the podcast again, are we?
Yes. Okay. Well, I think drawing that parallel brings us to the very clunky and slightly embarrassing end of this week's Tape Fact.
What? Tape Fact? Oh, yes, I panicked. I couldn't think what to say. We'll go with Tape Fact. Well done.
I completely panicked also.
Whoa. But you pulled something out the bag, Jamie. Well done.
Which, yes, it's the best I can offer.
Yeah. Now, talking of the best you can offer, would you like to hear the best of the emails that have been sent in to podcast@gerryanderson.com from our lovely Podsterons?
Yes, please. I'm expecting 5-star prose and nothing less.
Absolutely. Martin Laybourne got in touch to say, hello, chaps. You may or may not know this, but the aliens from UFO made their first appearance in Doctor Who. Well, okay, you could only hear them, but it was definitely them. Let me explain, says Martin. I was watching the trailer for the 1965 film Doctor Who and the Daleks, starring Peter Cushing. Now, the Doctor starts his narration over a scene of a young girl running through a forest, accompanied by the sound of the all-familiar incoming UFO. Hello, I exclaimed. We've been here before. Was this sound lifted from this production to be used 5 years later in the series of my favourite Anderson show? Well, yes, ring the lawyers, says Martin. My suspicions were confirmed by my search through the film credits, where I discovered the composer of the electronic music was none other than the great man himself, Barry Gray. Yes. He was obviously testing it out and saving for a better use in the future. Who'd have thought it? Another connection to the worlds of Gerry Anderson. And while we're on the subject, I would tell you a joke about time travel, but you didn't like it. Keep up the good work. And that's regards from Martin. Ah, lovely.
That was 5-star prose indeed. Well done, Martin. You passed the test.
Good spot, though.
Yeah, but you see, I think so many cues and stuff were reused.
Yeah.
And in a beautiful way. But the the UFO sound, I'm pretty sure, is it's a musical construction, really, rather than a special effects construction.
Yeah.
Very much like all of Richard Harvey's work on the Terrorhawk sound effects. All those kind of zeroid sounds.
Yeah.
Them coming out the chutes and their shutters opening, all
almost
that sort of stuff.
orchestrated, aren't they?
Where
really?
they were synth musical cues that became special effects or sound effects. So it's very, very familiar Anderson DNA there.
Hey chaps, says Willow and AC. So here's another little story for you about why it's dangerous to leave AC and I unattended. That sounds worse than it is, don't worry, says Willow. So, as usual, our chat descended into something ridiculous and random, and I decided it was time to introduce AC to Akinator. Now, Akinator, for those who don't know, is a fun little app or online game where you think of a character or person, real or fictitious, and it asks you questions to try and determine who you're thinking of. And I had a little look, and it styles itself as the mind-reading genie. So, says Willow, we did the usual James Bond, Anderson characters, Star Trek, etc. Long story short, Akinator did not guess that we were then thinking of Richard James. And now it has a brand new entry for Richard James, actor, writer, and podcast host. You can thank us later. Though how it didn't guess from asking us if Richard was human, had human skin, and walks on two legs, we just don't know. Much love, Willow and AC.
Gosh.
Sounds like fun.
That's most unexpected.
Akinator, I'm going to have a little whirl on that.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Hello, boys. This is from Belle Brandt from Crewe, home of the lovely Lyceum Theatre that I've played a couple of times. My name is Belle, and I'm a big fan, and I would like to say a big thank you to you three for creating this wonderful podcast. It blows my mind that Jamie is the son of the Gerry Anderson. I joined in a few episodes ago. How I didn't know about it is beyond me. Whoops. Anyway, I'm a big Thunderbirds fan. I love both the 60s and 2015 versions and the 2004 film. I understand that most people, including Gerry, didn't like the film, but I thought it was brilliant as a 9 or 10-year-old. Exactly, that's the point, I think, Belle. I'm loving the podcast so far, says Belle.
So far? Oh, no. Well, we've let ourselves down now, haven't we?
And I love the first part of the interview with Lloyd Captain Scarlett Scott. I did see highlights of the London Marathon, and I didn't see him, but I saw a picture from someone else on Facebook, on the Facebook page, and was very happy to see him. He's brave and inspiring. Keep up the good work. Gerry would be very proud of you all, especially Jamie. Can't wait for next week's pod. Love from Belle Brandt from Crewe.
Oh, well, thanks, Belle. That's really lovely. And see, this is what I mean, people finding us now.
Fair enough. I know. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, point taken. Hello, Jamie and Richard, says Benjamin. I recently started watching Stingray for the first time, and I'm really enjoying it so far. There is one problem, though. The DVD set that I have for the series, which my dad bought over 10 years ago now, not only does it have a pretty ugly and poorly designed cover art,
it does,
but all the episodes, apart from the pilot and the final episode, are in the wrong order.
No.
It kind of made me realise that whoever made that box set back in the day just scraped together all the episodes and put them on the discs in a very haphazard way, apart from the pilot and the Aquanaut of the Year. Do you guys think it's a production order or transmission order on that set? Because I'm confused. Hopefully on the new DVD and Blu-ray, this has been rectified, but I'm a little bit annoyed that I have to painstakingly go through the series from switching out the discs. Hope you had a fantastic coronation week, and I hope to write it again soon. Kind regards, Benjamin. Yes, please do, Benjamin.
Thanks, Benjamin. Yes, well, I agree. It's a very ugly cover. It's sort of magenta and yellow, cartoony blackness.
Yeah.
Not very nice. I think there was like a Carlton-style guide that they made to try and, make it down with the kids. And it just didn't fit, didn't work, didn't suit it. I mean, we've got several articles and stuff online about a production versus transmission episode orders and how there's no particular one, but that one does sound particularly haphazard. I'm pretty sure on the Blu-ray it's in production order. I'm ready to be shot down on that, though. Perhaps we should ask the randomizer when he arrives later.
Yes. You may remember a few weeks ago I asked our lovely Podsterons to email us in, and in the subject line simply put the word favourite, and then in the body of the email tell us which number podcast has been their favourite so far.
Oh, remember yes, that? I do remember that. How many emails have we had?
Well, we've had one from Paul Hyder in China.
Oh, yes.
Who says, subject line, favourite, body of text, 6.
Gary Newman.
That's it.
Is it?
Yeah, well done.
There's not many that I'll know the actual person from the actual number.
That's
but
right, yeah.
Okay.
Mike got in touch to say, watching Space 1999 The Last Sunset at about 44 minutes and 12 seconds or thereabouts, in the fight scene, Dr. Russell reaches into her medkit, and I think I spotted a packet of Tic Tacs in there. Label removed, of course. Is bad breath a particular problem on Moonbase Alpha?
Terrible.
Kind regards, Mike. Well, maybe that's why Barry Morse left for the second series.
Well, because he had bad breath or because he was fed up of everybody else's?
I'm not going to divulge. I'll leave that to you.
Amazing. Well, good spot.
Yes.
Tic Tacs 1999. Well done.
I mean, it's rather reminiscent of the anti-radiation pills that were available on the Gerry Anderson store for a while.
Yes.
Bottle of mints.
Yeah, perfect for Moonbase Alpha bad breath. Yeah.
Hi, says Gareth C. Hubbard. I just watched the podcast about the little motorised wheelchair in Identified, and I think I might be able to shed a little light on the subject. It was in an edition of TV21, or Look-In, I can't remember which now, which claimed that these vehicles were for shifting equipment and cargo around Shadow HQ, and they could have a smaller trailer tagged onto the back. They were confined to running along the red line in the corridors, while pedestrians used the white margins at the edges. We used to have similar little buggies in the NHS for lugging laundry around hospitals, though they don't look anywhere near as sexy, says Gareth. Obviously, the idea was never developed any further, but it was a neat idea just the same. Ideal for taking Paul Foster home after a long day protecting vulnerable women. Keep up the good work. And that's kind regards from Gareth C. Hubbard, Shadow Monitoring Station, Halifax.
Excellent. The Halifax is a particularly efficient monitoring station.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Excellent results over the past quarter. There we go. All for now, but please do get in touch. We love to hear your emails, or rather read them out so other people can hear them. podcast@gerryanderson.com, because without you, there would be no podcast.
Absolutely. Well, there's no point in us being here, really, is there? So thank you, Podsterons. Yes. This is a bit like if a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody to hear it, makes no sound. If there's no Podsterons, we don't exist.
Yes. No, quite right.
So, can I interest you in a small, concentrated dose of Gerry Anderson news?
Sure. Yeah, I'm in the mood for that.
Good. And I'm going to top up your Gerry Anderson news mug and let you down it. So here we are.
Bit weird.
Yes, indeed, it's the Gerry Anderson news.
Gerry Anderson news mug. Where can I get? Yes, I want one too.
We should have them for when we do. Well, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but when we do our next live,
all right,
shouldn't we? Yeah, great. Okay, so it's the Gerry Anderson.
News. I almost forgot. I was thinking of something else.
Yes, because you were too busy interrupting me about the news mug. Anyway. Sorry. We've been hinting at it for months, and there have been some delays in it being announced, so I'm sorry about that. And I know that some of you have been a bit frustrated. It's not our thing to announce. Mm-hmm. In fact, we did inadvertently leak it. Yes, the 17th and 18th of June, we'll see BritSciFi returning to the National Space Centre, and we will be doing not one but two live recordings.
Nice.
One of the live podcast and the other of Fab Live. Great. On the Saturday and Sunday. There will also be a display of Anderson stuff, a few of us loitering around and saying hello, and also plenty of other sci-fi guests, Doctor Who's, Red Dwarfers, and others. So we would love to see you there. I think it's once you're in, once you've paid to get into BritSciFi, the podcast and Fab Live are free events, first come, first served.
Yep.
And we'll probably have a little stall of goodies there, as usual. So it would be lovely to see you at BritSciFi.
Exciting, isn't it?
Yes, and I think if you just search National Space Centre, or is it spacecentre.co.uk/event/BritSciFi?
I don't know.
If not, I've just made up a web domain. Good luck getting there and see how you get on.
I've just tweeted a little picture with a link that will take you straight to the page as well. So if you follow me on Twitter, you'll be able to find it there.
There you go, or just use the Google.
Yeah.
So there you go, that's that. That's very exciting. Now, you may also have seen or heard that I'm on the hunt for Joe 90. This is not a matter for assassination, though, don't worry. We are trying to find Len Jones, the voice of Joe 90. And you may be thinking, yes, but why, Jamie? Because you're hardly Joe 90's biggest fan. And I would say, yes, you're right. But there are many Joe 90 fans around. And I've come to appreciate just how many of you there are over recent weeks as we've been putting together the Project 90 Technical Operations Manual. So my dream scenario is we find Len, we bring him to the Space Centre,
Oh.
You get to meet the voice behind Joe 90 now in his 72nd year.
Great.
Thank him for his work. Tell him what Joe 90 meant to you, and we get to give him a copy of the Project 90 Technical Operations Manual. Now, I don't think that's going to happen because I have a feeling that Len very purposefully left acting behind in the mid-70s, and he doesn't want to talk about Joe 90, which is fine, but I want to give him the opportunity, and I also want to say, sorry, Len, for being a bit cruel about Joe. It's nothing personal. So, if you have any leads, please email us, joe90@gerryanderson.com, and I would be very happy to receive any information. Do, however, just first check in the article on the Gerry Anderson website that the thing you're suggesting is something that we don't already know.
Sure. Yes.
Because we've had quite a few emails saying, I don't know if you know this, but he was in a film in 1972.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know that.
And
then he was on the radio in 2006.
Oh,
we know that too.
Yeah.
It's got to be a live, active lead. You know his daughter.
Yes.
He's a cab driver, and you were in his cab 3 weeks ago.
He's buying a bottle of milk in the local spa as we speak.
Exactly. Or even, I am Len Jones.
Wow.
Len Jones, if you're listening now, please get in touch. Even just to say, leave me alone. That's fine. But it would be great to hear from you. Anyway, there we go. The search for Len Jones continues. Friday this week, we've got a live stream. It's a Gerry Anderson title sequence off, if that's such a thing.
It is now.
David Munday and Jack Knoll, and maybe me, will be popping online to have a discussion about the very best and worst of Gerry Anderson title sequences. Who is the true champion? Well, David and Jack will attempt to decide along with viewers of the live stream, so you can join them from 7 p.m. this Friday, UK time, on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel, youtube.com/Gerry Anderson TV. How's that?
Good.
If you're looking for a bargain, there's a flash sale on the Gerry Anderson store this Wednesday. Just keep an eye on your emails and notifications and all that sort of stuff. There'll be a push notification coming from the app. If you don't already have the Ander app, then you should go and download it. You can download it from ander.son/AnderApple if you have an Apple device, or ander.son/Android if you have an Android device. How's that? Exciting, eh? There you go. So it's lots of livey stuff and searchy stuff and flashy stuff. It's all go in the world of Gerry Anderson. We've got some exciting stuff coming up for you towards the end of the month, and particularly in July. Stand by for news of Captain Scarlet Day. But for now, that is the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news. The Gerry Anderson news. What was that?
I don't know. I crashed a bit.
You did a bit, didn't you? Lots of stuff going on, though, isn't it? And won't it be lovely to see the Podsterons again in Leicester?
It bloomin' will be. And hopefully they will arrange themselves in size order.
I was about to say
did I steal your thunder?
No. What I was thinking about the Gerry Anderson news mug, okay, if we get 2 mugs, and if the tallest that we decide by then, Podsteron, and the shortest Podsteron together in Leicester, I will present them with the Gerry Anderson news mug, if such a thing exists.
We'll have to make one. I've got this terrible image of us stealing mugs from the hotel and writing on them in Sharpie.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Yes, we're all looking forward to that. As is over on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Podsterons, Roger Smith, who's booked his tickets for both the live podcast and Fab Live at the National Space Centre on June 17th and 18th as part of this year's BritSciFi.
One of us now, Roger Smith, who my main memory of him connected to Leicester is, I think there's a Sainsbury's just around the corner, quite a big Sainsbury's.
Okay, yeah.
And I went in there to get some drinks for us all a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And went in for a wee.
Right.
And one of the urinals next to me was a member of Moonbase Alpha, and I believe that was in fact Roger.
Brilliant. Memories, eh? I mean, if you want to experience such a night as that, then come and join us. You too could wee next to Jamie Anderson.
Well, I was thinking more next to a member from Moonbase Alpha, but okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Each to their own.
Ross Patterson says, I hope you find Len Jones. It would be wonderful to hear how much fun he had in Joe 90. But John Jackson says, well, he said in a radio interview that he can't remember anything of it. I mean, that's fair enough.
Yeah, but you see, that radio interview, I know often it's not many days' work for people and they do forget about it, but there's no proof that radio interview was actually Len Jones, is there?
Oh,
Especially when you go on and say, I don't remember a thing about it. I mean,
Sure.
and he didn't have any of the vocal qualities of Len Jones.
Yeah.
Obviously Len's voice will have broken
time
at
has
some
passed.
point and things have changed, but my memory of that interview is very much like, my name's Len Jones and I was Joe 90 and I don't remember everything about it now. It didn't really sound very Joey, but
Okay.
I'm ready to be proven wrong if we can find definitive proof that was the Len Jones.
But actually, it would be rather nice, even if we can't remember anything of it, which would be fair enough, it would be rather nice just to, let him know how much we think of him and talk about his work even now.
That's the thing, because as I've been saying, I've done a fair few radio interviews about this because people are really interested in finding Len as well, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
The best, bless them, the late Shane and Matt of Thunderbirds cast.
Yeah.
They've been to all the conventions. They've had praise just piled on them as they deserved.
Yeah.
But Len's never had any of that. He vanished, and I know there are people out there who will want to say, "You were brilliant. I loved you. Thank you so much for doing it.
You were the voice of my childhood."
Exactly.
Essentially.
He doesn't need to be able to answer intricate questions about stuff. People just love the opportunity to say thanks, and that's what makes it special. So let's see.
Yeah, great. John Jackson continues. Someone may have asked this before, but if the network's special Blu-ray edition of Thunderbirds ever came out, what would you want to be included for special features and goodies in the box? I'd like a new Thunderbirds comic by Steve Kite and a new animation by Chris, like the Fireball XL5 one.
Oh, yes. I think a little Bremen adventure would be brilliant for Thunderbirds, and Chris could definitely do a great job there.
Yes.
I'd love to see half-hour versions. So the original, because there are scripts that exist that show the inserted pages, so you could cut down to the original half hours as they were intended to be. Yeah. They'd be quite fun. We've got some new unseen interview footage, or old unseen interview footage, I should say. Various other bits and pieces, maybe some more audio adventures bundled in there. There's loads of stuff we could do. It'd be brilliant, but let's see.
Yeah. Let's see. Hannah has received her Fireball XL5 Blu-ray, said, I got something special from the post yesterday from the Anderson app. I love the box, but I'm looking forward to watching the Blu-ray. Jonathan Bell says, well, I've had mine 6 months and I've still not opened it.
What? Jonathan Bell, get on with it. You've got to watch it.
How could you? Aid Swatridge, I'm working through watching Farscape, and who should pop up in a major role in Series 4, Episode 17, A Constellation of Doubt, but Nick Tate. From Space 1999, of course. Are there any other well-known Anderson actors cropping up in other sci-fi series?
Oh, loads.
Of course. Yep. Simon Jeffrey says, well, Nick Tate also pops up in Deep Space Nine as well.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yes, I don't remember that. Stuart Lusher, evening Podsterons. I thought I would like to mention this as I was listening to my Dad's Army CDs earlier, and I heard Liz Morgan, the voice of Destiny Angel and Rhapsody Angel and Harmony Angel from Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, in a couple of episodes. In a Dad's Army CD. I love this cross-pollination of Anderson.
Yeah, there's a lot of it there. The BBC Rep guys, of course, they're going to be cross-pollinated.
Absolutely. Neil Holloway says there's a horse running today with an Anderson connection. It's Commander Straker in the 3:45 at Chester. It's live on ITV4. A few days ago, this, of course. Paul Hyder suggests, maybe UFO stands for Unusually Fast Horse.
Ooh.
But then I did see a comment from Neil saying it didn't complete the race anyway due to misbehaving in the stalls.
Oh, naughty.
Yeah, there we are. Matt Keskivari, I was really surprised to find this at a film store here in Helsinki yesterday, and I'm looking forward to finally watching it. And he posted a picture of Gerry Anderson, A Life Uncharted. In Helsinki.
How on earth did it get there?
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really surprising, but great.
Great to know. And finally, for now, John Wood says, wow, what an incredible interview with Vanessa Harryhausen and our Jamie about the fantastic work they're doing to keep their father's legacies going. Dynamation versus Supermarination.
Well, there's no verses about it. They live alongside each other.
There we go.
Lovely. Well, I mean, I feel like you've sort of pre-introduced part 2 of our interview. So should we do that?
Let's do that.
Well, in case you're not familiar, we're talking to Team Harryhausen. Vanessa Harryhausen, that's Ray's daughter and author of Ray Harryhausen, Titan of Cinema. It's a bestseller, you know.
Wow.
Connor Heaney, who's the collections manager for the Ray Harryhausen Foundation, and filmmaker and author John Walsh, who is a trustee of the Ray Harryhausen Foundation. How many times can you say Ray Harryhausen in a Ray Harryhausen introduction? Well, you just heard 17 Ray Harryhausen. So here's Team Ray Harryhausen. But with all that said and all the kind of appreciation for it, do you think there is ever a space for mainstream cinema and content production to lean back towards the tangible in a kind of really meaningful, large-scale way, or is it something which you guys with the foundation, us and others, trying to kind of preserve them, keep them in the public eye, and make sure that they are restored? Is that the best chance we've got to preserve this stuff?
Well, look, here's an interesting stat. There is more stop motion, traditional hand stop motion on screen, both in cinema and television now, than at any time when Ray Harryhausen was working. At any time. Think
Good
of
number.
Aardman animation. Think of Kubo and the Two Strings. Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs. There's countless animations. People are screaming now at their Alexa or whatever, shouting titles. Coralina, Box Trolls. There's loads of them. I think the issue has been technology has slightly improved, so you don't have to shoot on film and wait for a day or two to see your rushes and use surface gauges. That's gone. You don't have to do that. You can shoot on your iPhone. There's different apps you can have so you can do something stop motion and see it now. But Ray never used a video assist. He could have done on Clash of the Titans, but he said to me it was one extra plate to spin, so he didn't want to. But I was in the kitchen when he got a phone call from Grover Crisp at Columbia Pictures, and they were talking about the restoration, the first Blu-ray for Jason the Argonauts. And he was asked the question, and he asked me what I thought. And he said that he was asked whether the wires should be removed from the Harpies sequence, because in 2K and 4K, you can actually sometimes see wires.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, no, that removing scratches or stabilizing the frame. But I'm a big fan of not removing wires from Superman or the Black Hole and these things. And but of course, Ray is a more forward thinker than that. He was like, no, my intention was for audiences not to see the wires. So in digital, and because it's a higher definition on screen, I'd rather if those wires were removed. And Ray went back and supervised colorizations of his previous black and white classics. So he didn't think it was sacrilege to go back and do that. Whereas part of me thinks, oh, should you? And of course, whatever Ray Harryhausen agrees, I would quite faithfully nod with. It's not my place to argue with him. But I would always say, if we can have both versions, please, on the disc, if there's enough space to see it with and without, certainly restored and 5.1 sound, I agree, yes. But removing wires is the thin end of the wedge, because I've seen online on YouTube people who've, what they've called, not my words, removed the jerkiness from the animation and smoothed out the skeleton sequence or smoothed out the Kraken. That is naughty. Naughty but nice, perhaps. But I think technology has its place, and it's helped animation come back. So stop motion is back, but it's not quite back in the footing of live action with stop motion. But who knows?
It's interesting, isn't it? That I hadn't even considered quite how much there is around, but you're quite right. It's certainly there, and we see with, I guess, puppetry as well, back in even stuff like The Mandalorian and obviously Dark Crystal and beyond. So there is an audience-wide appreciation. So beyond the kind of the Blu-rays and the ultra high definition restorations and stuff, which are all great, clearly there is a wider effort from you guys and the foundation. Can you tell me about the foundation itself, the aims, what you're doing, and what's going on? Because I'm sure, as with everything that we do, the kind of the continuation aspect, the adding to the canon, to the history, revealing more, all that sort of stuff is the stuff that is now super engaging for those who are already invested. So what's going on over there?
Well, Ray established the foundation actually himself in 1986. So he's very kind of forward-looking, I suppose, and ensuring that his collection was kept together. And he wanted the collection, because he kind of kept everything from his films, all of the models and artworks and molds and tools and so forth, tens of thousands of items, and he wanted them to be kept together for future generations to learn from. And so, by proactively kind of establishing the foundation as a charity, it meant that after Ray's sad passing, the foundation existed to look after his collection. One of the most important aspects is, of course, taking care of the models themselves, the latex models, which you see, Medusa and the Kraken and Talos and all of these other iconic figures. They're made of latex rubber over a metal armature, so it's an organic material and naturally deteriorates over time. And Ray took good care of his model collection, but it's just a kind of natural process over the decades. And so what Ray really wanted, kind of similar to the discussion you've just had with John there about the Blu-ray restorations, he wanted the models to look as good today as they did on the big screen. He wanted people to see them and be kind of overawed. So if you see Talos in person, he should look like he did in 1963. And so Ray would restore his models himself throughout his lifetime, and then in later life, he actually hired a conservationist named Alan Friswell, who he worked closely with to restore the model collection and repair those where necessary. And so when we put on exhibitions, we had a huge exhibition in Edinburgh to mark Ray's 100th birthday at the National Galleries of Scotland. And it was the biggest exhibition of Ray's work to date, titled Ray Harryhausen, Titan of Cinema. And there were hundreds of objects on display there, and every single one of them had been assessed and, where necessary, restored for display, so that people were seeing these models as they should be. Not only do they look better, but it means that they'll be safe for decades to come. It means that people can continue to enjoy this work. I mean, a film that we've spoken about, or that has been spoken about a lot this afternoon, has been Jason and the Argonauts, which turns 60 this year. And we still have all of the models from Jason and the Argonauts, the Skeleton Army, the Hydra, the Harpy, and of course Talos. And these pieces were all on display. And it wasn't just people who had seen the film in the 60s that were coming to enjoy the exhibition. It was people of all ages. I think that they had a record amount of family visitors at the National Galleries of Scotland coming to see these models in person. And it was, as I say, it's not, these films are older now. Ray's last film was released 42 years ago now, but 42? It's not just, which was before I was born, and yet I still knew about Ray's films when I was growing up, just like I knew about Thunderbirds when I was growing up in the 90s as well. It was on TV all the time when I was younger.
And I even watched it a lot.
So there is something, but Ray's films are still on TV. It seems like every weekend at the moment, Ray's films are still on television, on all sorts of different channels, and people still enjoy them. And there's these decades of kind of shared memories of his creations, which I think is wonderful. And one of our jobs at the foundation is to take care of that legacy and ensure that as many people as possible can see or interact with Ray's artwork and his models as possible. And it's a real privilege and a joy to do so.
Can I just say that Dad always was very aware of the public. The public will make you or break you, he used to say, and he never took them for granted, ever. And I find it astonishing after all these years since his passing that God bless all those people who love his work and love your dad's work. If it wasn't for them, our dads would be forgotten.
Absolutely.
So it's wonderful that we've still got the fans out there that can pay tribute to our dads and the wonderful work that they did. And it's great that even all these different generations come up, even in the exhibition. Had we toddlers coming up, I loved your dad's things, oh my God. And then, like grandfathers and fathers, and they can always say that a member of their family or somebody viewed, one of my dad's films. And what a tribute that is. It's tremendous. So I think Dad, in his collection for the foundation, he wanted to share that with young people and get that inspiration and that magic and keep that magic going for youngsters, even if it's a little plasticine thing and they think it's crap, we all make crappy things, but, we can build on that and make it better, So I always say to the youngsters, don't give up, just keep going and, you'll get there eventually, and keep that inspiration. And it's great.
Can I just say, the Foundation's archive has an estimated 50,000 items, Jamie. So it makes us the largest animation archive outside of the Walt Disney Company. And it's run really by Vanessa and Connor and myself as the other trustee, although they're based there at the archive, secret location, and I'm somewhere else. I'm in London. But, when I was growing up, I always wanted Harryhausen toys in the same way that you have Star Wars figures. And when the Clash of the Titans toys came out in 81 and they weren't successful, Ray thought it's because people didn't want them. And it wasn't. There was some politics with toy shops who were already selling Star Wars toys. And now in recent years, we've brought toys out And I know this is an audio podcast, but for your benefit, Jamie, you can see on the shelf behind me, there's some Harryhausen toys. There's a perfect replica of Bubo the Owl. Here on my desk, I've got the Minotaur Heart from which is Clockwork and Works from Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. And these are really expensive, but there's a massive audience for them because people really want this stuff. And I showed Ray on eBay how much a carded figure from Clash of the Titans was going for back in the day. And this would have been around 2011, 2012. And it was hundreds of dollars. And he was really surprised. Why would people pay hundreds of dollars for quite a small toy? Because it's on the card. And I had to kind of explain to him why that was. And he was thrilled that people were thrilled and horrified, I think, because
yes,
as a child of the Great Depression, who would spend hundreds? No, I blushed because I was one of those people who would spend hundreds. There's a lot of us out there, but that's an interesting market. So you have the further and higher education where we give talks to universities and colleges. We have the exhibitions. We have the commercial wing where we license some of the toys as some of the creatures for toys through Star Race Toys. And the studios come to us for DVD content because before Ray died, I recorded commentaries with him for all of his films because he hadn't for like 90% of his films, which was unbelievable. Why would you not? And so we sat down and recorded those. And so we're kind of multi-purpose in that sense. And we need those because we're not publicly funded. We need to make sure that we're kind of proactive in bringing money in to support the archive and the work that we do so that we can afford to do outreach projects then for schools and for colleges.
And also restoration and preservation of the creatures.
Absolutely, because that's essential to the future of the foundation. So the one area that we're not involved with directly is the restoration of the films themselves. But luckily for us, they're with the main studios who have them. Warner Brothers, who has the MGM archive, and the most of the pictures are with Sony, who have the Columbia Pictures archive. So they look after everything really beautifully there, which is great because that's one headache we could well do without.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, that's a lot to do. It's a huge amount. So clearly, Vanessa, for you in particular, this is a pretty full-time undertaking. Is that fair to say?
Well, Connor does most of the donkey work at the, if there's extra stuff for me to help with, and yes, I'm in whenever things get a bit overwhelming in that. But
it's a long-term thing for you because people often ask me, how is it being constantly immersed in the world of a parent that you lost, not that long ago, really, I suppose. How do you feel about it? Because clearly there's a wonderful legacy thing. It's kind of keeping their memory alive while not them. It's a very strange position to be in and kind of unique to you and I.
Yeah, it's quite emotional, isn't it? Because you remember things, and obviously when you hear interviews and you hear your dad's voice and that, it sort of gets you in your heart. That I'm trying to fulfill what Daddy requested in the best possible manner. I mean, we've got to be adaptable in this day and age, to inspire young people was his ultimate goal, really. But he's everywhere. It's amazing. I mean, I'm looking at, not that you can see this, but I'm looking across a desk, looking at a model of Trog, and it just makes me smile. There's every day I see something when I'm in here doing something, it just makes me smile. We discover something new. He was what you call a modern day hoarder, maybe. Mm-hmm. Just in case. He always used to keep that just in case, or he could use something, to adapt to something else. And thank God he did, because we wouldn't have this wonderful collection of all these items. And we're still getting surprises. We haven't still been through every single box, or, we might go through a box and find a load of bits, and they might be little armatures. And then we have to sit there and figure out, well, was this just a dummy, or was this for what film could it have been for? If you find a boot or whatever. So it's quite fun. It's sort of like Christmas when you're going through the thing. You never know what you're going to find. And when you do, it's great fun. So
it's a nice experience, isn't it? I mean, you have the physical and the hoarder side there, which is lovely because you've got a treasure trove. Dad was the least nostalgic man you could possibly consider.
Really?
So he left behind a filing cabinet essentially and a hard drive of stuff, and that is about it.
Oh my stars!
But even so, we still discover stuff because other people have picked up materials over the years. So, random videotapes or film cans will turn up, letters, all sorts of things, and it's always
wonderful.
It's always a pleasure. But I wish you well continuing to go through the hoard. In terms of the future, the near future, the far future, what are the kind of next step aspirations for the foundation, and are there any kind of big dream goals that you guys would love to see happen?
More exhibitions.
Good answer.
I'm just being greedy here. More exhibitions and more interest, and to stimulate the young folk, with all this magic here. But
kind of the cataloguing isn't complete yet, Jamie. So there is that much stuff that we're kind of reactive in so far as if someone comes to us and asks us specifically. We're working on a Trog figure at the moment, and that's why he's out in the archive. We're working with Star Race Toys just to get the sculpt just so we kind of react to whatever the inquiry is that comes to us. But in terms of the collection, it's not entirely catalogued. Everything's not entirely scanned. So in terms of aspiration, I know it sounds quite dry, but to get everything catalogued and scanned and safely stored, I'd like to have duplicates of everything. I'd like an underground bunker like a James Bond villain so that we're completely protected. But I'm quite an obsessive collector and hoarder as well. And I spend a lot of money on storage. And because Ray was a child of the Depression, that's one of the reasons why he is hoarder is an ugly word, really. But I mean, I've used it to describe Ray and myself. But people who see the value in their collection and keep it for others, and that's what he did. At his own expense, he did that for us. So really, I suppose our long-term goal is to make sure that we can encompass the entire collection and look at it and say, this is what we have, and how best now to stop it from decaying. Entropy. It's for sci-fi fans who read about it.
Because we've got so much, it's not going to be like a
we're
year.
Young. We're young. We can pretend we're young. At least.
I can tell you, listeners, they all look very sprightly, so it's all in good hands.
Very kind, most kind. I can tell you this is how I used to look. Look, if I can show you on here, there we go. That's what when I first met Ray Harryhausen. With the Kraken in his house. So that was in his West London house in the late 1980s. Amazing. And the Kraken was minty fresh back in those days, but making sure that everything is kept into a condition that we recognise them from the films. I think that's an ongoing struggle in a sense, isn't it, Vanessa?
Yeah.
Very tough, particularly latex stuff. I mean, yes, I wish you all the luck with that. So if our listeners, folks, want to kind of get behind what you're doing at the foundation or find out about events and other bits and pieces, how can they best do so?
So we're on all the social media platforms. We have our website, which is rayharryhausen.com, and we're also at facebook.com/rayharryhausen, twitter.com/rayharryhausen, and instagram.com/rayharryhausen. We're also running the Ray Harryhausen Awards, which is into its second year, and that's an awards for animation movies. Entries are open until May 31st this year. So if anyone does have a film they'd like to enter, we have 4 categories. We have Best Feature Film Award, Best Short Film Animation, Best Student Film Animation, and Best Children's Film, which is for under 16s, and that's free entry. So any younger listeners that have been experimenting with some of the iPhone apps that John mentioned, making their first stop motion movies, it's always wonderful to see those. And yes, you can find about all of that through harryhausenawards.com. So we are fairly active online, and we post every day either images from the archives or updates on what we've been doing. I'm not sure when the show goes out, but Vanessa and I will be at the Bristol Forbidden Worlds Film Festival on May the 20th and 21st. We'll be introducing screenings of King Kong, which is celebrating its 90th anniversary this year.
Wow!
So it's the film that inspired Ray so heavily. And then The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad from 1958, which is 65 years old this year. A special screening of that film. Always wonderful to talk about Ray's movies and the work of the foundation and meet all of these fans, long-standing fans or new fans of his work.
And also, if I can just add, we also have a YouTube channel, which you could find us, Ray Harryhausen Foundation, and a podcast series, the Ray Harryhausen Podcast, where we release clips and extracts from the audio commentaries that haven't been heard before. And we go into detail on certain films or anniversaries and interviews and so on. And I think the Rondo Awards that are behind your head, Vanessa, some of those are for the podcast awards. So
yes.
Very nice.
Amazing.
Yes,
okay.
Podcast, and for best book for Vanessa's recent publication, Ray Harryhausen, Titan of Cinema, which won the Book of the Year in 2020.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Vanessa. It sounds like you guys are everywhere, so that's fantastic. And there's clearly so much crossover between fandoms, I think, and their appreciation of the tangible, the perfectly imperfect, etc. If we can leave our listeners with a single recommendation of one Ray Harryhausen project to watch from each of you, with no repeats allowed, so we'll let Vanessa go first, so that she can take dibs.
Your favorite? I know what your favorite film is.
It's got to be a favorite. So each of you, if you could give us your recommendation and why, is the thing that will really captivate everything Ray Harryhausen.
Golden Voyage, really, because of Carly and the movement with the swords and
the dancing bit is just incredible.
That was pretty amazing. Yeah.
I'm going to say The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad from 1958, which is Ray's first color picture and probably one of the most important fantasy movies of all time. And as I say, it stood the test of time. It still looks wonderful and is a really enjoyable watch.
Amazing.
Well,
John?
I was going to say Golden Voyage of Sinbad, but this isn't a second choice. This is an equal first choice. Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
More animation than the last 3 or 4 of these films combined. The biggest budget he ever had at $15 million. His most successful film, and the one that's been shown the most on television as well. It's had more television screenings than any of his other films. So it's a great one. And I'm still petitioning the folks down at Warner Brothers Archive, who I'd off my cap to do the 4K remaster. We still want to do that. Fans do want to see it. Please consider us for the 4K. We have new content and the commentary track. So we are very 4K friendly.
Fingers crossed for that. That would be great to see. I love that we've left with those recommendations. They're brilliant. Is there anything you guys would like to add before we sign off and bid our listeners farewell?
No, I mean, hopefully we'll meet together on the road sometimes. Maybe we could get some photography of some of Ray's creations standing next to your father's work, and see those worlds combining.
Wouldn't that be great? Or you never know, a Harryhausen Anderson exhibition at some point.
I think that would be fantastic.
I'd be curious to see what the comments are, because there's an enormous amount of fan crossover from the world of Gerry Anderson and the universe of Ray Harryhausen. And I think you'll get an awful lot of comments, Jamie, on this, that people who love your father's work love Vanessa's father's work too, because they are so hand in glove. That era, all shot beautifully on film, beautifully photographed, and can be restored now because they were shot on film. And the assistance that, Gerry shot on 35mm for television was unheard of in the UK. And that's what's really future protected his work as well. So, really lots of, I think you're right. There needs to be a Anderson Harryhausen crossover event, maybe Space Precinct, and on the big screen as a HD premiere could be the touch paper for that. I'd be first in the queue.
All right, fine. Well, let's see what we could do. We'll take this discussion offline, but it's been brilliant. Vanessa, Connor, John, thank you so much. And I'm raising my mug of peppermint tea to brilliant dads.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Team Harryhausen. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them all across social media, the Ray Harryhausen podcast, rayharryhausen.com. And of course, if you are a filmmaker, you can enter your film for the Ray Harryhausen Awards at harryhausenawards.com.
Nice. Lots of comments on our last week over on YouTube on our last podcast featuring the first part of that interview. Roger Smith, again, fascinating interview. As a model maker, my big 3 influences are, in no particular order, Anderson shows, Doctor Who and Harryhausen films.
Well, a perfect list.
Also, Scofair says, profound condolences, Jamie, for the loss of your brother, Gerry Anderson Jr. I knew him as a wonderful doctor. He says, over on the YouTube channel. And Martin Wright says, well, there is a known connection. Derek Meddings and Ray Harryhausen worked together courtesy of John Landis, not as special effects maestros, but as actors in a scene in the comedy film Spies Like Us. I didn't know that.
Amazing.
There we are. Yes, lots more to watch on our YouTube channel, though I say this every week. You'll get lost for days if you're not careful. But do comment underneath anything you're watching. Let us know what you think.
That's the nature of these things. Comment and tell us things.
Yes, exactly.
Richard, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Chris Dale, the randomizer, is waiting in the wings, and I think he'd like to do his randomizer. Is that all right?
I think that's fair enough. Yeah.
Okay, so Chris is here with his randomizer, a device which randomly chooses a random Gerry Anderson episode from a random series, which allows Chris then to watch it and hopefully enjoy it and say some things that you might also enjoy. So, without further ado, here's Chris enjoying something from the randomizer.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond's dad, I expect you to listen to this week's episode of The Randomizer. It's Thunderbirds, and it's the man from MI5.
That's as bad as listening to the Beatles without earmuffs.
So we welcome back to The Randomizer. It's Thunderbirds with the very groovy music of the man from MI5. I love this music. And a very wise idea to open this episode with this music straight off the bat. And of course, Thunderbirds, it feels to me, I don't know if anyone else agrees, it feels like Thunderbirds is that show that never ever turns up on the Randomizer. Quite ironically, considering this is the Gerry Anderson podcast Randomizer and we never get anything from Thunderbirds. But in fact, I was checking the other day, with this episode, we are now exactly halfway through Thunderbirds. We've done, with this, 16 episodes and 1 film. So, yeah, somehow Thunderbirds is getting done, despite the fact that it feels like it's never showing up. But there we go, it just means we have more to deal with down the line. And we've opened in the harbour of Monte Carlo. There's a yacht in the bay, a man at a desk doing some paperwork, and another naughty man sneaking aboard. We can tell he's naughty because A, he's in a black wetsuit, although I suppose a lot of them are black, but B, you can tell by his eyebrows, even underneath his breathing mask, that he's a very naughty chap, very severe, stern eyebrows. Now the music is taking a slight turn as our diver man waddles into the doorway, sees the guy making notes at his desk, and there's a real human hand holding a gun. 6. Wow, okay. 6 kills. He's had his 6, in the words of a certain cinematic secret agent who will be fairly important to this episode. And this guy, the assassin, is now rummaging through drawers. There's an issue of TV21 in there, various old bits of magazines and so forth. I think there's a travel brochure in there. There's a picture of Sid James on something. And this guy has also got, considering we're now in the world of like spies and espionage and so forth, this guy has got a lot of picnic wear, lots of cutlery and several nice blankets. But yes, it's another lovely example of the live action insert shots in these shows. We're back to the lovely music, and it always integrates really well for the most part, whether it was the hybrid live action and puppetry shot there, beautiful, or this stuff, beautiful, because we're still holding on a live action shot here of the guy putting the thingy that he's found back in his wetsuit, and now it's changed back to a puppet. Yes, he's found some little canister containing some kind of information, as yet we know not what. It's just lovely music, this. And a lovely special effects, model effects I should say, sequence of this harbour, which just looks beautiful. There's so many boats around the place. There's the lights of the buildings on the shore, and even though it's dark, you can see that it's a sort of stormy sky. I get the feeling they were quite proud of all this nighttime filming in this episode, and quite right too, because it turns up in later Monte Carlo centric episodes like Model Spy and The Race. And here comes another boat. Oh yeah, the effects in this episode are just gorgeous. It's one of the real highlights of this one.
There she is. He's arrived. Move in and tie up alongside.
Yes, that's Ray Barrett doing the voice of a character. I don't know if you'll be... there goes the boat. I don't know if you'll be aware of the character that this particular puppet is embodying. His name is Jimmy Bondson. Now, some of you may feel there's a slight sort of nod to another franchise of the time. Oh my god, this boat is going up beautifully. Although, oddly, it doesn't really sort of break apart. It just keeps exploding and bouncing to the surface. But there it was, gone. Oh, lovely stuff.
What do you think, Bondson? Why?
I don't know.
I just don't know.
Just don't know.
Yes! That's something we should add to the Thunderbirds drinking game if there is one. And I'm sure there must be one somewhere.
Blacker.
I don't know. I just don't know.
And I've got to get those papers.
Is right up there with, don't worry, nothing can go wrong. So, the wonderful music has taken on a slightly somber tone as we get our title, The Man from MI5. Or, as I thought it was when I was a kid and didn't really know anything about anything, I thought this was called The Man from the M15, as in a road named the M15. I assumed this was a man who lived by the side of a road.
Keep them happy.
As I said, I didn't know any different, but I'm also was probably kind of a bit stupid to think that a man lived by the side of the road. But, anywho, our man, Jimmy Bondson, for it is he, it's, yeah. Because at this point, we have to remember, although the Bond films had been running since, I think Dr. No went out in 1962, at this point, it was now a big phenomenon. I think particularly around the launch of Thunderball, which would probably sync up with this. I would have to assume it's the success of Thunderball that explains why we've got a spy story with a guy named Bondson hanging around the place. It's not especially subtle, and that's surprising actually for an Anderson show, particularly in the Supermarionation era, where they were so often, they were the trendsetters, they were leading the way. And now it's kind of strange to see them this isn't paying tribute to the Bond films.
Blacker. He's dead.
This is, I guess,
no one could have survived that experience.
They just want to make a Bond film of their own, and why not call the guy Bondson and imply that it's the son of good old 007 himself.
Blacker was shot 5 times.
Oh, I thought I counted 6.
Cartridge cases. An unusual type, too.
Has my counting skill begun to deteriorate as well?
This caliber in this part of the world.
Oh, dear.
Maybe it'll give us a lead to the murderer.
That's not our problem.
By Jove. We're all very serious and stiff upper lip.
Our job's finished.
Yeah, just leave his body for the fishes. That's fine. Ooh, he's found a torch. Which of course was containing the important microfilm document thingy.
We're too late. The papers have gone.
Papers.
That explosion was no accident.
Dun dun dun! Oh, and that's sweet too. We cut from that to a very fakey looking shot of a submarine in the water. But of course it's going to look fakey because it's in the Tracy swimming pool.
Close, Brains. Alan will be out for his swim soon.
Yeah. His presence in the water would upset the sonic beam.
He hears that a lot. Yes, and this is the Hood submarine from Desperate Intruder. But I like that it's a good example of how the model footage was slowed down for water scenes, because it does look very fake bobbing around on the surface like that. Alan sunk the sub.
Gee, I'm sorry, Brains. Guess I didn't realize you were working.
Oh, just conducting a little experiment.
I'll go and continue it in the bathtub with your alligator.
Hold it a minute. It's John calling in from the space station.
Oh. Everyone's like, whoa, what's this? John? Oh, that guy, yeah.
John, what new?
I've had an emergency call from a guy named Bondson. Kind of unusual.
Call me back when you've got something genuine, John. You're just making stuff up now.
Well, this fella has got something to do with the British Secret Service.
Why do they need us?
Well, that's the whole point. Bondson says if we don't help, the entire world could be destroyed.
Wowee, that's serious. Give me the details. What episode was that from? Oh, that's from 30 Minutes Afternoon. This is an interesting shot, though. Normally, when John is talking to Jeff from Thunderbird 5, he'll just speak into his little radio thingy. But in that shot, there was a monitor in the corner of Thunderbird 5, and John was actually talking to Jeff on the screen.
Extinguish your cigarettes and fasten your seatbelts for landing.
And yes, this is Penelope on the Fireflash. Fireflash is about to make a landing. Mark this in your calendars. I believe this is the only safe landing we see of the Fire Flash. And even then we only saw the rear wheels touch down. Yeah, I think in the Duchess assignment we see it landed at another airport, but it's so rare to see it land safely and not need help or be crashing into the sea or whatever.
You will not be seen until you give the word.
Excellent. Now I must make a telecall.
Yes, if you haven't guessed already, this is a Penelope-heavy-centric episode. And in fact, the titular man from MI5 doesn't really have much to do. He's hanging around in this French apartment at the moment.
Hello.
Listen carefully.
I shall say this only once.
At midnight you will drive to the forest of Dean. You will come to a clearing 3 kilometers within the perimeter. There you will wait.
How will I know you?
You never will, Mr. Bronson. Now please repeat your instructions.
Yes, Penelope-centric episode, and I may have discussed this in earlier episodes. I'm not a huge fan of Penelope as a character, and I don't think it's anything to do with the look of the character or the performance. I think it's just, it feels so strange to have, this is a show about an organisation dedicated to rescuing people, and we have this secret agent spy stuff on the side with, certainly in this episode, a good amount of shootings and killings and so forth. And I've just found it always, even since I was a kid, I found it such an odd mishmash of concepts. We've got an organisation dedicated to saving lives. One of its agents is embroiled constantly in taking life. I don't know. It is, I think, part of the huge influence of the Bond films around this time. But I've never felt this needed to be part of Thunderbirds. Lady Penelope as a confident, capable agent, that's fine, that's one thing, but the sort of, it almost feels like the show just wants to go off and make a spy thing, and I kind of want to sit it down and say, look, okay, fine, if you want to make a spy show, but don't sort of keep hijacking Thunderbirds, this really great Thunderbirds concept, because I really believe that Thunderbirds is one of the greatest concepts of any television series ever. And so even as a kid, I was disappointed when I'd sit down and watch an episode for the first time and think, oh, this is a Penelope spy thing. I'd rather watch an episode of Thunderbirds, to be honest.
Fellow British agent collected plans of a nuclear device from a scientist living in, well, for security reasons, I can't say where.
Because I'm a pucker secret agent, I think this is his last scene until the finale. Yeah, he's the titular man from MI5 is in barely 10 minutes of this episode.
A good cover. The vessel was destroyed before I could reach him.
And there was no trace of the plans?
That's right. The yacht had been sabotaged. My colleague was murdered before the explosion.
I do like the voice that Ray Barrett is doing with this character, though. It's good. It's to the episode's credit that he doesn't try a Sean Connery type voice. That would just push the whole thing into full-on parody, I think.
You've got to get those plans back.
But this is a very atmospheric scene of Penelope standing behind Bonson with her gun at his back.
Remember to keep your head. You won't if you move again.
And to her credit, to Sylvia's credit, I do feel that Penelope is as dangerous as she would like to.
You are our only hope.
To appear here.
I'm leaving you now. Do nothing, say nothing. I
think that was on the cards anyway, wasn't it? As I said, he's not gonna turn up again until the finale. He took her far too literally. So. Oh.
The lady said,
"Don't move." Yes, some very nice nighttime atmospheric stuff. It's a very stylish looking episode, this one. Which is good because it doesn't always have a lot of substance. I think that's why we've got some really impressive effect stuff and some really cool music. It's just lovely, this tune. And I'm really glad that it's had so many cover versions over the years.
To Belady?
To the yacht, Parker. And by the way, that was excellent shooting.
Yeah. Oh. That's, okay. Why are we playing the "oh my god, everything's just gone wrong" music over a shot of Parker? Anywho, it's now the next day, and Fab 2, its only appearance in the series, I believe, although it was quite heavily featured in the comics and books Indeed, I believe it was destroyed more than once.
Lady?
Thank you, Parker. Oh, yes. When we drop anchor, I want you to go ashore and contact the local newspaper offices.
The lady?
You are to tell them that Gail Williams, the leading fashion model, has arrived on her yacht. Make certain they print that Miss Williams is going to expose the murderers and saboteurs who destroyed that vessel yesterday.
May I ask who Miss Gail Williams is, milady?
How silly of me. Didn't I tell you? I am Gail Williams.
Oh, of course. And she has to be a leading fashion model. Ah, there's the music again. And here's our diver friend from earlier reading the papers. Le mannequin dénonce les meurtres.
She's going to track us down, is she? Well...
That's actually impressive because I should have held on that shot for longer, but it's... They must have gone out and got a French newspaper for that, because ordinarily it's just that... Whenever you see a newspaper in the Super Mario Nation shows, it's that same Friday, December 24th, 1960, whatever, with all sorts of news going on in Slough around whatever plot point is relevant to that particular episode. Yes, more lovely special effects stuff, but it does take its time, this episode, to really sort of wallow in how nice it looks. Which is fine up to a point, but sometimes it would just be lovely to sort of get the episode to get on with it a bit. Like here, this whole scene is the murderer guy is going off to meet his friends. He couldn't just turn up at their hideout. We have to see every step of his journey by boat. We didn't need to see every step of his journey by boat, I don't think. But it does look very pretty. Oh, he's put his diving gear on again. Ah, because they're in a submarine, aren't they? He's parked in a boathouse. And he's diving. Yeah, the music is actually doing a lot of heavy lifting with some rather slow visuals. But here's the bad guy's submarine, and I believe this may be a reuse of... I can't remember the name of the submarine. It's the one from the man from the Navy, I think. But it's been repainted and had a bit of extra work done to it.
Hanging around's getting me down.
Take it easy. The authorities have got this place bottled up since we blew that yacht.
I know. But how are we going to get past these patrol boats that are combing the area?
Carl will figure a way. Ah, here he is now.
Because all our villains are French, they're all smoking.
What's new, Carl?
That is... Well, what's it say, Carl? You know we don't understand the French lingo.
Oh, he's not French? Oh, okay. His top is covered with cigarette ash. What accent is Ray Barrett doing for that character, then, if he's not French?
What are we worrying about? She just ain't in our league.
Nuts.
He's a generic European foreign spy guy voice. That's strange. I thought they were all French.
This is serious.
So is what we're going to do to Miss Clever Gail Williams.
And if either of you decide what your accent is, well, let me know, because I'm doing a sort of Spanish voice instead of French. Oh no, I found the French at the end there. Zut alors.
You rang, milady?
Yes, Parker. I'm expecting a visitor soon. You may have the evening off.
Oh, this set of Penelope's cabin is just gorgeous. Admittedly very pink, but every detail is just beautiful.
You will go ashore and enjoy yourself.
Well, Monte Carlo ain't far from here.
I love how reluctant Parker is to leave Penelope.
Very profitable.
That's settled.
He really has to be sort of coerced and pushed into it.
Yes, milady.
Because after all, she's his first responsibility, and if anything ever happened to her, he'd be right bound off.
Go ahead, Penny.
Good evening, Jeff. Everything has been arranged. If my bait has been taken, I think the plans will be in our hands before midnight.
How about your arrangements, as you call them?
Oh, are you dissing my arrangements, Jeff? Why did you call them that? Arrangements as you call them.
Waiting.
I've spent ages on this plan.
Dear Jeff, I'll be perfectly all right.
Oh, of course. Oh, again, lovely live-action insert shot there of a close-up on Parker's suitcase as he's walking along.
Rustica.
And whoever was wearing the Parker costume had a bit of a spring in their step to reflect his singing.
Very well, Parker.
It's just the attention to detail in this show.
What have you in that case?
Is beautiful. That it even lifts episodes like this, which I suspect, as we get to the halfway point, you can probably tell I'm not the greatest fan of this episode.
That one.
Oh, well, I thought I'd take it, just in case. I won. The casino. So we had to put all that money.
Uh-oh. There's his equipment.
Oh.
Or the hardware, as I believe he's called it in previous episodes. Yes, milady. Oh. That's a lovely shot of Penelope smiling. We don't often see her wearing her smiler head, because the neutral head just looks smiley enough, but there's something about the smiler head on Penelope there's a very wry grin to that.
She's the one, she is. How she expects me to keep my hand in, I don't know. Oh, well, suppose I'll have to go to the casino after all.
Oh, what were you actually planning to do? You were going to rob a bank? Okay.
I think everything's ready for my guest. Yes, Parker's cleared his bits and pieces away before he left.
Bits and pieces. Oh dear. Those are criminal tools, milady. Ah, yes. Here comes the boat with the naughty man aboard. Oh, Carl, that's his name, yes. The villain's name is Carl.
The fish has taken the bait sooner than I expected.
And I've got to say, actually, the background of Monte Carlo on the shore doesn't look all that great in the shots of the puppets standing on the deck of the ship. But really, it's not meant to be seen in the level that we can see it in now. I'm watching this off the Blu-rays, and it's just...
Yeah.
It's so clear.
Now get this, lady. This gun is loaded. Come on, you. You're going for a little boat ride.
Oh, how nice.
Just move and fast.
The music's back. Everything, any flaws that I want to lay at the feet of this episode, they just disappear when this music starts up.
To the boat and hurry it up.
Especially that saxophone. It's just soaring. There's some lovely ad-libs on some of the music in the show. The jazz tracks in this and the Cham Cham, they must have been so much fun for the musicians to do. So, Penelope has been kidnapped by the naughty men, by Carl, which means she's now off to the boathouse.
What are these quaint little buildings?
I like that sped up version of the theme tune as well, or the Man from MI5 theme, I should say.
My, this is a deserted area. One just wouldn't know where one was, would one?
Soon it ain't gonna matter to you anyway.
I think also one of the things that I'm not keen on regarding Penelope-centric episodes like this is, yeah, although she's cool and calm, and that's kind of an essential part of the character, it kind of lends a slightly glib tone to the proceedings.
Okay, the pleasure cruise is over. Pretty soon this little box of tricks is going to blow you sky high.
It's kind of one of the things that I don't like about a lot of modern TV.
It's
particularly modern Doctor Who. Everyone's so focused on making cool sounding lines, sounding so glib that it totally undermines the drama.
And I suppose the waiting is a kind of morbid pleasure for you.
And I do think that that's kind of the case with this episode.
It's all part of the plan. You see, our sub is stuck at the bottom of the sea.
Let me explain our plan in great detail.
Patrol boats in the area will pick us up on their radar. Now, in 90 minutes' time, a patrol boat crosses this bay. At the right moment, we detonate the bomb.
Uh-huh.
The patrol boat comes inshore to investigate.
So she's going to be blown up as a distraction, and they can escape.
Die, and we will escape.
I see.
Formidable.
Are you going to tie me up?
You bet I am.
Oh, I don't mind, really. But
not so loud, milady. It's a classic line, isn't it? Oh, dear, yes. One of those lines that,
slay me.
Hasn't aged well.
Always thinking about your mugs. Okay, go ahead. I got time.
Yes. They've always got time, these villains, to let the hero powder their nose or whatever it is she's doing. He's even having another smoke. It's just bad guy lore in old shows and films. Meanwhile, on Tracy Island...
Penelope.
Yeah, an emergency code.
It's her necklace that's lighting up.
I'll take it at my desk.
Rather than the eyes. So she's doing a sort of code thing with the placements of her powder on her face. Now the lipstick.
Must stop it. The bay next to yacht.
And it's a really specific
bomb
lipstick-based language that they've set up here. Just one line across the lower lip means bomb in boathouse.
They're delicate, you know.
If you don't quit gabbing, I'll gag you as well.
That could be rather fun. So the compact, which was knocked out of her hand, is still open.
What happened, Father?
I don't know, Scott.
We were the stars of this series, and it seems now it's been hijacked by someone else, Scott.
What kind?
Yeah, and it could be the controls of a boat. Penelope indicated she was in a boathouse.
Is Virgil wearing his pajamas?
Something about a bomb.
I get that they don't have much to do on Tracy Island a lot of the time, but it looks like Virgil is wearing his pajamas. He's just decided not to get dressed today. As well he might do, because, you know, he lives on a nice island, doesn't have anything to do. That's it. He's made those ropes good and tight.
Not a word.
Well, why don't we try to contact her then?
Look, Scott, we don't know what's going on in there. The wrong person might get the message, and then Penelope would be in mortal danger for sure.
Oh, yeah, but he doesn't know the lipstick-based code.
That would be meaningless to someone outside of our organization.
And you're right, Scott.
Pass me my lipstick. I'll reply.
Notice anything wrong. Right. Let's use contact code 5.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh, that involves turning the desk over. Oh, so there's some kind of Morse thingy being tapped out. It's nice that International Rescue have all sorts of codes and channels for communication, but some of them in this scene are insanely specific.
Hey, what's that noise?
Noise?
And, I mean, specific to the point of literally only Penelope and Tintin could use the lipstick communication channel. Somehow I don't think that's standard for all agents. I don't think Jeremiah Tuttle has a makeup compact with lipstick that he has on his person at all times.
It's stopped.
Oh, it must have been rats. These places do have them, don't they? I mean, you must have some friends.
Ooh,
are you trying to be funny?
That is a cool line, though.
No, not at all. I'm just trying to explain the noise. Do you think those rats will leave the boat before the bomb goes off, or are they going to go up with it too?
And now we know. Penelope's...
There are rats on the boat.
Blown up.
Oh, no.
Situation.
Yeah, that is...
What a predicament.
We know for sure that at least one of the murderers is still aboard.
And he'll be bound to give himself time to get clear.
Right.
Yeah, good thinking, Gordon. Most murderers will stay on the boat and get blown up with it.
Killers have a submarine.
Thank God we've got you to get to the bottom of things.
4, Father.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for telling me, Scott. Thunderbird 4 is the water one. Yes, I know. That was interesting, though, as Scott was turning around on the painting. That was how he was speaking that dialogue. And normally, it's... If we see him going around on the painting, it's the old stock footage from the first episode. It's always nice when they do familiar sequences we've seen a million times as part of the launch sequence, and they do something new and different with them, even if it is just having Scott talking while he's going in.
Is it?
Oh, you're not leaving, are you? And I was just beginning to enjoy your company.
So long, lady. You've got about an hour left.
Wow. That went well. It's all part of Penelope's master plan. She's tied up with a bomb. It's all falling into place. So now it's back to staring at the wall through the makeup compact.
Mr. Tracy, Father and I thought you might feel like a cup of coffee while you're waiting.
Thank you, Tintin. I always think the waiting's the worst part of these operations.
I saw Virgil...
As opposed to what?
Yeah. I just wish we knew more clearly what they're going to find when they get out there.
And Tintin almost tipped over. That's a fairly huge jug of coffee that she turned up with on that platter, and the puppet almost knocked it over as she was starting to put it down.
Jeff, are you receiving me?
Because he dragged her further away from the...
From the monitor, yes.
From the compact. So the audio isn't as clear now.
The boys are on their way to you. Can you get any closer?
I can't hear you.
Oh, if only they had a convoluted code system for this kind of situation. She's going to try and get over there. Yeah, I don't really think much of Penelope's plan, to be honest. She was like, oh, it was, she expected to get captured and taken somewhere, and now she's in mortal danger, and it doesn't seem to have occurred to her that she largely brought all this on herself. I mean, if only she hadn't sent Parker away. Parker could have come to the door when Carl visited and just put a gun to his head and said, "Right, Mush, you're going to tell us all about your naughty plan."
It should do, Mr. Tracy.
I hope so, Brains. She's trying to tell us something. I wish I knew what it was.
So Carl has now returned to the submarine with his two vaguely foreign accented friends.
All we've got to do now is wait for the patrol boat to cross the bay. That gives us 40 minutes.
So it's 9:20.
Minutes, and then the boathouse, the boat, and that dame go sky high.
And she's dying at 10.
International Rescue Base from Thunderbird 1.
Loud and clear, Scott.
Any more information for me, Father?
And it's kind of strange, going back to what I was saying at the very beginning about the way certain episodes of this show sort of almost feel like a different show is trying to escape out of the Thunderbirds format.
Come in, Penny.
But ultimately, with these Penelope-focused episodes, you still, for the most part, have to have the boys come in to rescue her at the end anyway.
It's no use, Penny.
In this and The Perils of Penelope as well.
Closer.
Oh,
so, I don't know.
Anyway.
Going back to something else that I said earlier, I don't know. I just don't know. I've never been a huge fan of the way these because they just feel like two completely separate ideas kind of smished together, and it's just never worked for me.
Just keep Thunderbird at maximum speed.
And I doubt that if this show had been made in any other era, even if it had been made like a few years earlier, I don't think this spy element would have been part of the show. Having said that, though, I also don't think Penelope would have been as strong a character as she was and remains, had that been the case. And now she's made it closer to the compact, and now she's got to rock from side to side, and... Oh, I always wince at that shot when she suddenly crashes to the floor, but then it's instantly undone by the way Jeff stands up there. He stands up very much in the way that people on game shows would spoof the way a Super Mario Nation puppet moves. It was very robotic, but not like an actual robot, but just in the sort of odd way that puppet bodies work.
Sonar equipment. You'll soon find that.
And certainly to the show's credit, you rarely see them work like that. But in this episode, it was like he was up, and even before his head turned, his chest was facing the screen before his head had time to catch up. It's a lovely shot. It still looks very cool, oddly enough. So, Scott has arrived on the scene.
Approaching danger zone. Time 9:40.
Oh, he's only got 20 minutes.
Sonar sounding.
And we're about to get a new piece of equipment on Thunderbird 1. And it's one of those things, as I recall, it's one of those things where it makes sense that Thunderbird 1 would have this sonar sounding equipment that it could deploy to detect underwater craft. But on the other hand, it's one of those things that also looks far too big to actually realistically sit inside Thunderbird 1 as a model. It's a red rocket with yellow fins, some aerials on the bottom, and a lot of cables connecting it to Thunderbird 1.
International Rescue from Thunderbird 1. Sonar soundings operating.
And in one of those
We'll widen the area of
segments that Shane Rimmer wrote for the half-hour Thunderbirds episodes, I think we've probably even published it on one of the Gerry Anderson social media channels. There's a bit of Scott talking about that piece of equipment. He calls it the Amazing Sonic Sounder.
2 from Thunderbird 1. What is your estimated time of arrival?
Thunderbird 1 from Thunderbird 2, 20 minutes from now.
FAB. We'll try to make it sooner. Continuing search.
They're doing their best. Yes, I think this is the only time we see Thunderbird 1 using this thing.
Lady Penelope from International Rescue. Scott's trying to find the sub now.
Oh, good.
I'm overjoyed.
Don't worry, Penny. We'll get you out of there.
Again, it's more lovely acting from Sylvia, coupled with the look of the puppet, who is now a bit dishevelled. Bless her, she's been through a lot today. But also, this is a very slow way to go about finding the submarine. It's almost padding, I would say, this stuff with Thunderbird 1.
Boat comes across the bay.
Because surely, they could just arrive with Thunderbird 4, drop Thunderbird 4, and Thunderbird 4 could find the sub.
The patrol boat doesn't go to
the same way it finds everything else.
Up on the radar as soon as we start our motors.
Stop worrying.
Mamma mia.
Those dumb cops won't be able to resist.
I'd love to know what country these characters are supposed to be from.
To interest anyone.
Guess you're right, Carl.
Of course I am. Aren't I always?
Me and my fabulous eyebrows.
International rescue from Thunderbird 1. I've got it. She's down there.
Hooray!
Contact bird.
After nearly what felt like 45 seconds of just total silence except for bleep, 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 bleep. It's definitely not the most thrilling sequence.
Great. You made good time.
I don't think that particular piece of international rescue hardware inspired any young imaginations. I don't think any of the Thunderbird 1 model kits or toys have ever been issued with that particular feature as a play feature.
FAB, Scott. Gordon's sound scan will be able to pinpoint her. How much time have we? 5 minutes.
Well, it's all a bit of a race against time now. Again, if Penelope had been just 5 minutes later in managing to get herself heard and understood, she's left it very late to get herself rescued. And this is all part of her plan. She allowed 5 minutes for the bad guy's sub to be located. It's not a very good plan, as plans go, I've got to say. But, I don't want to sound like I'm down on this episode, because it's Thunderbirds. I don't want to seem down on any episode of Thunderbirds. But it is just an example of, as I said, I don't feel the secret agent stuff and the rescue stuff really exist as well as they might. I just feel that they're two completely opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of drama and storytelling. But if anyone out there is really, really fond of this spy stuff that they did in Thunderbirds, and is disagreeing with everything I'm saying here regarding how tonally at odds I find it with the rest of the show, but also just looked forward to the spy stuff, please let me know. I would love to hear more people say why they love this spy stuff.
Got her. Range 400 yards.
Because I know it all comes down to personal preference, much like everything I say on the randomizer. It's just my opinion. It's not fact. My opinion is as valid as yours. But it's always felt so strange to me. And because it's strange, it leads to odd stories like this that don't quite hold together. But there's the patrol boat. It's a reuse of a boat, a SE rescue boat from, I think, Operation Crash Dive. It's that fun one that sort of sticks up out of the water.
3 minutes to go before that patrol boat comes along.
Yeah, Penelope has really thrown herself into the fire with no need, and B, barely any time to
Paralyzer! Now!
To get herself rescued. Gordon has got a very long cable.
Hey, what was that?
Which he fired at the enemy ship. It has a drill on the end. Yes, I do love the way that the Thunderbird's craft in particular would often demonstrate a new feature or a new piece of equipment for one episode only. And even as a kid, I think that it doesn't really make sense for all of these features to be available to the one craft.
30 seconds.
I'm also reminded, actually, was it Transatlantic Cable where Supercar had a drill for underwater use?
5 seconds, Gordon.
Oh, Gordon's got his serious face on now.
What the? I'm through!
Was that a different voice? That was Carl, but that sounded more like Matt Zimmerman. Could be not.
Quick. The oxygen mask.
So yes, Gordon is gassing them.
Must fire them.
And again, what would they have done if the bomb was on an automatic timer? This bomb requires the bad guys, to actually manually press the button at 10 o'clock. Which is very unlike most bombs seen in other Super Mario Nation things. Normally, if they're going to go off at 10, it's all done automatic. For instance, that bomb in Crater 101. There isn't normally another guy at the other end pushing the button, keeping an eye on the clock. But luckily for Penelope and International Rescue,
And the two, Father?
That's how it is in this episode. So Penelope's rather daft plan involves on several whopping coincidences, all of which work in her favour. And obviously I don't want anything bad to happen to her, but I just think she's bitten off a bit more than she could chew here. Hence why International Rescue have to come and save her once again.
Are you sure you're all right, Penelope? You knew those murderers would try to kill you. You sure took a chance.
Well, that's what makes life interesting, Scott. The uncertainty. I just hope Gordon can find it.
So I was certain to ensure my life would be put in danger by making a really rubbish plan, thereby generating lovely uncertainty. Lady, you were 15 seconds away from getting yourself blown to bits. Anywho, Gordon has now broken into the sub.
I reckon this is what we came to rescue.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now, looks intact.
Yeah.
I guess Penelope can put Mr. Bonson's mind at rest.
It's also rather unfortunate that nobody in this episode gets to do the welcome, Mr. Bond, son. Come in and sit down, Mr. Bond, son. They don't really follow any of the Bond tropes that we, 60 years later, know and love about the franchise. But aside from the character's name, they don't really do much that really reflects anything of the franchise, even as it was at this time in 65. He's a spy. He's looking a bit like Sean Connery, and his name's Bonson. That's about all they're prepared to do. It's almost like a Bond tribute done by people who hadn't seen Bond films, which is surprising, because I think back in 65 it was like the law that you had to see Thunderball. Anywho, Mr. Bonson has got his top secret plans back. The world is now safe. Until next week, when they'll lose something else.
You know what would happen if you moved, Mr. Bonson.
Yes, I think so. Well, on behalf of my chiefs, I'd like to thank you for your help.
On behalf of International Rescue, I accept thanks. Now, one last warning. If you make any attempt to trace me or my organization, you will find severe opposition. I will not say further than that.
Yeah, Connery's Bond wouldn't put up with this. He wouldn't sit there, take orders from a woman. Leave it out. He'd certainly not just kind of sit the episode out with his feet up, waiting for someone else to sort it all out. Anywho, everything's okay.
Milady?
Who?
Parker's taking Penelope back.
Parker? How did you fare at the casino?
Oh, I lost, milady.
Oh, dear. How much?
Well, it's a bit difficult.
Now, come on, Parker.
This is a fun ending to the episode as well, even though I don't think Penelope really would have let him off as lightly as this.
It was what I lost.
You know, Parker, you're being very mysterious. What did you lose?
Your yacht, milady.
Some lovely, reluctant David Graham vocal noises there, with some old Stingray music. That's from Treasure Down Below, in fact. So yeah, it's a fun way to end what I feel is an uneven episode of Thunderbirds, because really, I much prefer my Thunderbirds to be Thunderbirds. I like rescue stuff, and although there was a rescue at the end there, it was very drawn out, and it was all in the service of rescuing someone who had put themselves in danger. This is a very strange episode to talk about. As I said, I'm not a huge fan of the spy stuff in Thunderbirds. I don't get it. I've never got it. It's never been my cup of tea. So to have an episode that so blatantly incorporates all of that stuff without really understanding why it works in films like Bond. We've even named the episode after the character of Bond. We've got a character named Bonson, and yet it's not really a Bond tribute. Not that I really want a Bond tribute. I don't know what I want. I kind of want an episode of Thunderbirds, to be honest. And so if someone said to me, you're never ever going to see the man from MI5 again, I'd say, you know what? That's fine. Beautifully made. It's some stunning visuals all the way through. But it's just the tone, the story, it's all so slight and not really very Thunderbirdsy that it's never going to be one of my favourites, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Well, what better way?
Gold standard, really, isn't
to do Randomiser than a bit of Thunderbirds. Man from MI5. Lovely stuff. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Obviously, next week could be something different. Could be, well, it's not going to be the same episode, but it could be the same series. Yeah. Yes. Never rewatch the same one twice. So, Chris, thank you. He'll be back next week. I would say, Podsterons, let us know your thoughts on what you thought of this week's Randomiser. podcast@gerryanderson.com. You know, be honest. Don't hold back.
No.
We'd love to hear.
Yeah, I may not read them out, but yeah, be honest.
No, they'll all be lovely because everybody loves the Randomiser.
It's the favourite part of the podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why we put it at the end.
Certainly mine. It's something to look forward to. Anyway, Richard, have you got anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it for now. Just keep everything coming in. We love to hear from our wonderful Podsterons. We're nothing without you, so send in your emails, tweet us on Twitter, join in on the Facebook group, and we'll see you next week.
I thought you were going to use every social platform as a verb. To Instagram us on Instagram, Facebook us on Facebook, TikTok us on TikTok.
Yes. MySpace us on MySpace.
MySpace. Oh. Excellent retro thing there. Brilliant. Well done. No, please do. Email us podcast@gerryanderson.com and you do all the usual stuff. We love to hear from you, and make sure to leave us a lovely review. Please, if you haven't done yet, just do it now. It's over. Just do it now.
Yeah.
Now.
Do it now. Right now.
Come on, we're waiting.
They've done it.
Okay, well done.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Right, we'll see you next week, and we'll probably read out your review as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
I could see if that review's already appeared, actually.
Yeah, so it's very real time, all this, isn't it?
I know, it's amazing.
It does often take a few minutes to appear. So
but it's technology for you, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Anything?
Hang on, I'm just loading it all up. Takes a minute. Oh, I've loaded the wrong app.
No.
Sorry, no, I'm doing it. Gerry... No, not the Gerry Adams podcast.
Is there such a thing?
No, I don't think so, but here we go. It has that... There we go. It's there.
Yes, it's there. Oh, lovely. Brilliant.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't leave them much time, so it is a very short review.
Quite brief, is it?
But it is a review nonetheless.
Okay. Go on.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is from Virgil in Thunderbird 2.
Thanks, Virgil.
Yeah. Excellent is the headline. 5 stars is the rating.
Yeah.
Great podcast with brilliant hosts.
Well, I mean, that's all you need to know.
There you go. So thank you, Virgil. That's amazing. You did that so quickly in real time.
Just then. That's lovely. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Very thoughtful.
There you go. Well, let's look forward to more of those. In fact, if we just do the next week's podcast where we just keep stopping and leaving them a chance to do the reviews, we can just make it a review podcast.
We could do that. Certainly make life a bit easier for us.
Wouldn't it just? Okay, well, I look forward to that. See you in 258 for the Gerry Anderson podcast review podcast.
Reviews.
Nailed it. Bye.
See you then.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.